Hello and welcome to all of our Gold participants from around the world. Welcome to the Gold Lactation Online Conference for 2016. I'm Fiona Lang-Sharp, IBCLC Public Relations Manager and MC for Gold. Well, welcome to my interview with Clare, Meynell and Helen Gray. So excited to have them here at the Gold Lactation Conference for 2016. We're just going to sit down with them for a few minutes, find out what they've been doing, where they've been. There's lots to talk about and we don't have much time. So I want to start off. We have both Helen and Clare in the room, but I'm going to start by chatting with Helen first. Helen, why don't you introduce yourself? I know you know many people around the world, but I know there's going to be someone that's listening that might not know a little bit about yourself. And tell us how you first became involved with the World Breastfeeding Trends Initiative.
Well, I'm from the US originally, but I've lived in England for over 20 years. So all my children were born here. All my experience of breastfeeding was here. That led me to become a La Leche League leader, which has been a really important part of my journey, and eventually to get qualified as a certified lactation consultant, IBCLC. I do quite a bit of work for La Leche League and for the Lactation Consultants Professional Association. And one of those committees, we had the opportunity to hear Arun Gupta from IBFAN Asia, from India, who was coming to tell us about the World Breastfeeding Trends Initiative in the run-up to the World Breastfeeding Conference, which was a big global launch pad for the initiative, which had previously only been done locally. And I was actually quite amazed at how simple and straightforward it was at representing, really distilling down the global strategy for infant and young child feeding, which can be a bit of a read, a long read, but it just picked out 10 top strategies, and you score your country and get a quick and easy chart, sort of a what we call red, amber, green, and that it was so simple that people who don't know anything about breastfeeding was really easy to explain to them. And I was amazed at how I was able to explain some of the important things that we need to do to support breastfeeding to people who didn't know anything about it. So I was really convinced that it was a very useful tool.
Well, I forgot to mention to our listening audience today that Helen and I have known each other for a few years now. And I have to say, Helen, you always blow me away and are totally inspiring to what you're all doing, because it just seems like it's so huge. I think this is going to be a great initiative. I can't wait to hear more of what you've been learning so you can share it with us. So thank you so much for, being involved in this and representing and, sharing all that information. It's great to have someone like you on this world platform. So I'd love it, Helen, if you could pass off the microphone now to Clare, and we will chat with Clare a little bit. So Clare, I don't think we've met before. Is that correct?
I don't think we have.
No. Well, it's great to have you here. Welcome to the Gold Lactation Online Conference, and it's so lovely to have you. Perhaps you could now introduce yourself. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and what you've done in the past, and then how you met Helen, and two, how you became interested in the World Breastfeeding Trends Initiative.
Well, I watched breastfeeding at an early age, about 10 years old, when my baby brother was born, and I thought this was normal. And then I was married quite young, and I had 3 children in a row, and I breastfed them all without much difficulty. But I then became a midwife when I was 39 and realized that women did have problems. And they were left high and dry, having had their baby, with very little support, and the knowledge base seemed to be missing.
Right.
So I thought, what can I do about this? And I decided to get a qualification, and the only real international qualification was becoming an IBCLC. So I asked my head of midwifery if I could do it, and she said, if you want. And I said, well, I think it's very important. And so I
did it in my holidays, and we didn't have a holiday for a long, long time because it cost quite a lot of money.
Sure.
And then when I went back, I said, I've done this. And she said, oh, okay. And didn't really take any notice. But I thought, now's my chance to teach other midwives what I know. And we
Wonderful.
introduced skin to skin
Hmm.
much before anyone else. We introduced clip-on cots 15 years ago. And we decided with a group of like-minded midwives to put the hospital through the Baby Friendly initiative and become globally baby friendly. And we held
Hmm.
that award for nearly 10 years. But then
Wow.
we had a change of head of midwifery who really wasn't interested in baby
Hmm.
feeding at all. And she said, oh, we don't need this and it's costing us money, so no, we're not going to do it anymore. We also merged with another hospital and they weren't interested either. So it really fell out of the window.
Hmm.
the and I thought, what can I do next? And my meeting with Helen um, was inspiring because then I heard that the World Breastfeeding Trends Initiative was being spoken about at the World Breastfeeding Conference in Delhi, and I had the opportunity to go to Delhi. Boy, was I blown away by that. 800 delegates, many countries, all putting um, their maternity units and other organizations through the World Breastfeeding Trends Initiative. It seemed to be the complete package. You
Wow.
had an overall view of what you could do to help your country achieve and sustain breastfeeding in a meaningful way. And then I retired from midwifery and thought, now I've got more time. So Helen and I got together and thought, shall we do this? And here we are, two
And
and a
here
half
we
years
are.
later. Yes.
Well, that is wonderful. Just again, it just sounds like your heart has always been in this direction, but yet you've come
Yes.
from such a great place as well, just understanding and having that knowledge. So it's great to hear your story for sure. Well, let's pass it back to Helen now because we're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up here at Gold Lactation Online Conference. It's our 10th anniversary this year. So I don't know if you ladies knew that, but we're so excited. There's a lot of celebrating going on this year, and part of that we want to talk about where, as Gold, where we've come from and all the things that we're achieving, but we also want to hear from our speakers what their journeys have been like. So, Helen, perhaps you can just touch on a couple of things real quick here about what you've seen change that's been most significant for you on your professional journey.
Well, and one big change that I noticed in my area in England is that
Hmm.
when I had my babies, there really wasn't anywhere to go if you
Hmm.
had difficulties. There were no local groups or breastfeeding counselors that you could go and see. There were helplines you could call,
Yeah,
except for La Leche League. So that became quite the lifeline for me. And now it's incredible. The National Health Service has got drop-ins every day of the week,
wonderful.
run by nurses and midwives,
Hmm.
and a number of the other breastfeeding organizations in this country have also set up networks of local groups and drop-ins.
Hmm.
So there's a lot more out there to help mothers, and the mothers are very motivated. They really want to breastfeed.
Yes.
That's and they're proud.
Yeah.
I'm constantly moved by the mothers that come to our group, and they really are the way of the future.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's great when we're seeing the sort of feedback effect on what's happening, as we grow and we see the industry grow and we've got more support groups, like you said. So it is wonderful to hear those things. But our mothers are often the ones, that keep us going, right? Their feedback is really important.
Yeah.
So we're driven by them. That's wonderful. Well, why don't you pass it back to Claire and we'll hear a little bit about what she has experienced. I know she shared a little bit about her history in terms of you mentioned some of your history, Claire, about how you were a midwife and now you've moved into more of this area. But tell us, I know you mentioned there's been some downsides for you too, that the initiatives were changed in your work environment. But what has been inspiring to you to see changes? What changes have been inspiring for you?
I think that it's the changes that come from the mothers requesting change, and
Right.
also local GPs who
Hmm.
are mothers themselves, who've
Right.
decided that actually they need more training and have
Hmm.
gone ahead and got it and set up a group themselves. I mean, it's a
Oh,
huge
that's wonderful.
groundswell
Yeah,
from mothers and from professionals. So
totally.
that's my inspiration for the
Oh,
future,
that's wonderful.
for the new mothers of the future, that there is groundswell from the bottom, and also politicians interested from the top. So if
Yes.
we can meet those two in the middle, with the mother and baby in the middle, that would be perfect.
Yeah. Oh, no, I couldn't agree
Yeah.
more. It's so exciting to hear you actually mention those things because I think that our mothers are standing up. They're listening and they're demanding, and this is good. This is real empowerment. This is what we've hoped for and wanted to see for many years. So this is really great. So Claire, I'm going to keep you on the line here because the last question I have for you ladies today, and you have to promise not to give away too much because I want everyone to come and listen to what you've been doing because it really is a great way to get inspired and take action for everyone. But what are you most looking forward to sharing with our audience, Claire?
I think that it's the joined up way that the WBTI works,
Okay.
and it's doable.
Hmm.
It's really something that everybody can get involved in their part,
Hmm.
and when it's all joined up, it makes a huge support network, and I think that's really inspiring.
Yeah, well, that makes me smile a lot because there's nothing more than collaborating when you can do it on a world platform. So we really
Yes,
we understand that a lot here at Gold because we're always working hard to try and have, a very good, diverse international conference. We want to invite people from around the world. So it's great to have you doing that with us. We're definitely on the same page there. So let's pass it back just quick here as we wrap up with Helen, and we'll ask her to tell us what she's most looking forward to sharing with our audience as well. Go ahead, Helen.
Well, both Claire and I are really excited about having the opportunity to talk to a global audience about the WBTI because I'll tell you what, is we're setting a challenge to our
Hmm.
listeners. We are challenging you to go and start working on something like this in your own country. And so we're really hoping to show how it's a very effective tool in galvanizing effective action, but also, you know, we're going to be coming back and seeing which of you have picked up the baton. And we're looking forward to this spreading all around the world.
Oh, that is just so exciting. Well, I hope our listening audience heard that loud and clear. The challenge is on, but we challenge you too. You need to come to the conference, listen to this great presentation. Again, it's titled Galvanizing Effective Action on the Global Strategy for Infant and Young Child Feeding, the World Breastfeeding Trends Initiative with Claire Meynell and Helen Gray. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for being with us here today. It's been an absolute delight just chatting with you and hearing more. Love learning about where you've come from and your stories as well. So it was just wonderful to hear all of that. And to our listening audience, thank you for joining us. And we look forward to having you at the Gold Lactation Online Conference for 2016. Bye-bye, everyone.